Welcome to the Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man. Live from Studio C at media stations in Bohemia, New York.
We're on.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man. No, Lisa is not here this evening. She's still making a scungil and whatever over in Italy, but she will be back next week. And hopefully she'll bring us some samples that are fresh because scungil will turn rather fast. But we have somebody to take her place who I get to talk with and do business with every day for the last, how many months now, Lori?
Since November.
Since November. And we have struck up a hell of a business relationship, unlike other kinds of relationships. But we have a great business relationship, and Lori is a founder of the Lori Landon Foundation, which I'm going to ask her just to give the short version of what it is that she does, and then we're going to introduce our guests. So, Lori, let's say hello, first of all, to Roberta and to Mark.
Hi.
Nice to have you folks
Hi,
here.
welcome,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
And I will explain to everybody what they do in just a moment. But, Lori, tell everybody what it is that the Lori Landon Foundation does and what you're all about.
We serve people around the world, all over the world, and it's incredible. Our tagline is bringing nations together in service, unity, and love. And the process we have is reaching out to the one in their unique needs. So we serve individuals, families, and organizations.
Wow.
And it's truly been a beautiful gift in my life. Amazing.
And how long have you been doing it for?
Almost about a year and a half now, since March of 2022.
And you've done very well for yourself.
It's been
Everybody knows who you are, and that's a good thing. Especially when you're a charity and you got to get the word out and you got to fundraise and you got to do all those kind of things. And you have a regular business. You have a regular business too.
Serving thousands of people. It's incredible, and I've met them all. It's just beautiful.
That's great. Well, I thank you to helping me out tonight as co-host. And let's get to our guests. And we're going to have Roberta Rosenberg from Destination Accessible.
Hi.
And welcome being here. I haven't seen you in a couple of years, right? It's been a few years.
Since the pandemic.
Since you've been, and that's been since you too, Mark, right? Mark Berlin. And Mark Berlin, I love your name. What's it? On the Mark?
On the Mark.
On the Mark Patient
Advocacy
Advocacy.
Services.
All right, tell everybody what a patient advocate is.
A patient advocate can mean a few things. For me, it's helping an individual who wants to remain at home and helping them navigate the health system. Being there for them when they don't know where to turn, when they get a new diagnosis and they're shattered, they hit a brick wall, and they want someone to guide them in the process.
So how do you guide them? What do you do for them?
Help them with referrals, help them find a specialist, help the family with appointments, make sure their questions are answered.
You take them?
I will.
You do take them
Yes.
also?
Make sure that their questions are answered, making sure that they understand the procedures and what to do. And then I can report back to the family and make sure they have the resources, make sure they have home health, companion, medical alerts.
Do you
to
deal
be
with the
safe at home.
doctors too? In other words, do you speak for the patient to the doctors?
I have in the past, yes, especially during COVID. I
Mm-hmm.
was taking a patient to the hospital, but they were both wearing masks. And my client that I was taking was hard of hearing. So I had to let the patient know what the doctor was saying.
I was unlucky and lucky. Back, I think the two of you know, back in 2018, I was rushed to the hospital and I was in there for a whole bunch of months. And it was very close for me. My blessing was that my wife's an RN. And with 45 years of experience in every which area, and I think you guys knew that. Those poor doctors, what they had to deal with her, because she knew all the medical terms, she knows everything that's going on, she's been an operating nurse, she's been in every department that you can think of. And especially when it comes to me, nothing gets through unless she knows about it. So I was very lucky. I wasn't, she'd be a great patient advocate. She'd be a great patient advocate. So let's just jump to you for a second, Roberta. I remember you when? It was about 7 years ago or so when we first met. I think I met you through Pulse. Was that through Eileen? Right on? Okay. And you joined Pulse, and if you no, you don't have to discuss what Pulse is because we're not here for Pulse. But Mark is on your board of directors. Tell us what your organization does.
So we are a 501c3 that provides accessibility information for people with mobility challenges. So whether someone is temporarily disabled due to an accident or an illness, or is long-term as a senior with walking limitations, uses a cane or a walker or a wheelchair, we want people to have the best experience possible when they're going out for fun. And we help them to do this by providing firsthand accessibility information of places people go for fun. So restaurants, theaters, museums, kid-friendly places, other popular places, bowling alleys. You can go on our website and find out exactly what you are going to find when you get there. So you can know before you go to avoid any unpleasant surprises.
Now, you found a lot of those unpleasant surprises over the course of years. I remember. Tell us some of the stories that you've come across.
Well, unfortunately, most places do not give you the information that you need if you have any sort of a disability. And it's not that they are mean about it, but often the people that are giving the information don't know. So such things as the young lady who answered the phone when we were taking my father to a restaurant, and she said, no, you can't get in the front entrance with a wheelchair. There's 7 steps there. But if you go around to the back, you won't have any problem because there are only 3 steps there. Now, clearly, this was a young girl who just didn't know. And so many times when you call and ask for this advice, the person answering the phone doesn't know, or the information is not given. You can ask about if there is I have learned to ask if there's a restroom on the main floor, because now there seem to be places that have accessible restrooms. However, you need to go up 3 or 4 steps to
Or
get
go down.
to, or go down 3 or 4 steps to get to. Or there is the restaurant in Manhattan that we went to with a large carpeted stairway down to the restroom. And when I came up from there and asked the hostess, so what do you do if you have, do you have an accessible restroom for someone who can't make those stairs? And she said, oh, we send them to the restaurant next door. Now,
They send them where?
they send them to the restaurant next door.
So you go take care of yourself next door.
Right. And next
Okay,
door
nice.
is you have to go out of the restaurant. You have to go outside in the street. You have to go I have to say the other restaurant is not that accessible to get to. You need a lift to get to their entrance, and then you have to go into their entrance to the back of their dining room to use their accessible restroom. So this is a problem in Manhattan and a lot of places that are grandfathered in and don't have to change it because they are pre-ADA requirements and things like that.
You must have given some written report.
No,
On this particular place.
we did not. Our aim is not to badmouth any place. Our aim is just to give people the information they need, and we have started asking brick and mortar businesses, not just restaurants and theaters and stuff, but I've been asking when I go to a meeting, if you have a brick and mortar business, it would be wonderful if you just took a little spot on your homepage and told people how accessible you are. So our goal.
Well, yes, we have lavatories for you to go to, whatever, but are they going to say, well, they're in the restaurant 2 doors down, and you
that restaurant is probably not going to do that. But many places may be willing to do that. People need to know. A friend just told me a story about another friend's mother who had recently had a stroke. And the mother was now in a wheelchair. And she was taking her mother to the dentist for the first time in a wheelchair. The dentist had moved their office. And when they got to the office, lo and behold, there were 4 steps to get into the dentist's office. So nobody thought about it. She called up the office and she said, we're here, but we can't get in. And she told the receptionist the reason why. And the receptionist said, well, would you like to make another appointment? Would you like to reschedule? So this is a person that clearly doesn't understand. Our goal is to try to help people give the information that someone would need to make an informed decision. So we're not in a position to say you need to change this or you need to change that, but just tell people. You know, those people that need it would be grateful to know.
I would expect that you would want to know. You know, I mean, movie theaters are pretty good now. They either have, if you can get on an escalator, great, but they have elevators
Yes.
that are in them, and it's
Yes.
easier to get around. Does your husband have some disabilities? Is
No,
that how you got
he has-
started? This?
No, I started with my mom, who was in a wheelchair for several years before she passed away. And it was 2005, and so there really wasn't much going on online or anything like that. So we muddled along, and then in 2012, I had a bizarre accident that left me in a wheelchair for 6 months, and then another 6 months with a walker and a cane and whatever. And at that time, I was starting to realize once again what a lack of information there was. It just wasn't out there. But I knew that I was recovering, and so we just dealt with it. My husband pushed me into the ladies' room. It didn't bother him. It was disappointing to go to a restaurant, and people would would give you a dirty look because they had to move their chair 6 inches so you could pass by with a wheelchair.
Yeah, right.
And then the final, I want to say, the final thing that drove me to this was my dad, who at the age of 97 still loved to
God
go
bless.
out. And his mind was sharp, but his body betrayed him. And he went from, walking 2 miles a day to a cane and a walker and a wheelchair. But he still loved to go out. He would have liked to go out for 3 meals a day if he could. And so spending time with him and seeing, it was now 2015, 2016, how things hadn't really progressed much in terms of information. And so finally, after going to a brand new museum in Miami that had what I would like to call indoor-outdoor shag carpet in their elevator that 2 of us could not push a wheelchair in, I finally decided that I was going to do something about this. And so I never conceived of becoming a five. I never really thought about anything business-wise.
You were just
said,
trying to help.
Right. I said, I'm going to put this online and people will read it, having no idea about the intricacies of really starting a business. So I enlisted my best friend, and we spent a year deciding what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. And our 2 sons built our website for us. It was a very private family affair. And unfortunately, I mean, she's okay, but she moved to North Carolina. And so I continued on myself. And as time has gone on, I realized that it's not really getting any better in terms of the real world. In the best possible world, we should not need to exist. That it would take a restaurant 5 minutes to put on their website, how accessible they are.
If not less.
Okay, so it really does not take a lot of time to do that, and so far nobody really wants to do it. So until such time as that happens, we soldier on. And all of our information is based on personal visits to every venue. We're not crowdsourced like Yelp or TripAdvisor, so anybody who is looking at the website can know what we saw on the date that's posted on the website, that we were there. And that we really pride ourselves on that aspect of firsthand information.
How intricate do you get with your reviews?
Pretty intricate.
That's what I meant before when I said what I said about the write-up.
Well, yeah, we're pretty intricate. Well, because we want people to have what I call true information. So we feel like it's important to say how many parking spaces, how many accessible parking spaces there are, where they are. Is there a curb cut to get up to the restaurant? Where's the accessible entrance? Is it at the front? Is it on the side? Is it at the main entrance? What are the doors like? What is the surface like? For some people, someone who may be pushing a wheelchair or someone in a walker, a smooth floor is really important. If it's a restaurant, it's important how far the tables are and how easy it is to get to them. And I said about this restaurant that I called and asked, and they said, oh, no problem. We have a brand new accessible restroom. It's fine. But they neglected to tell me, and I did the thing to ask, what floor is it on? I didn't know they had 2 floors. And so
Why would you think?
Well, so those are the kinds of things that we talk about, and what is the restroom like? Some places say that their restroom is accessible, and they think that just having the handrails makes them accessible. They could have handrails on a toilet seat as like a kid's height toilet seat.
Right.
Not really,
For an adult.
it's the law. You're within the law, but you're not in the I'll call it the true essence of it.
Because of space. Let's discuss one sec. For those of you that are in and around the East Coast, and a lot of you are national, like our co-host is in Northern California. Wouldn't you figure it? Let me ask you a question, Lori. What Roberta is talking about, do you have the same situations out where you are?
Yes. And I have that same experience because I was the caregiver for my mother during the last few years of her life, and she was very bright with her mind, but she had all the physical problems. She couldn't walk and couldn't hear, couldn't see very well, and it was really tough. We didn't go out very often, and when we did, it was always very difficult. It was very difficult.
But were they accessible?
Sometimes. I don't think it's very advertised. I don't recall seeing a lot of advertisement about the accessibility. But like I said, she just wasn't comfortable going out because it was so difficult for her. It wasn't an easy situation. And so I understand, where you're coming from as far as, what good is it on the second floor if you enter the first floor? It's very hard to get them upstairs.
But
It's not an easy task. And like you said, most restaurants and places, their aisles are very small, even just to walk through.
Yes.
Let alone trying to take a chair.
Interestingly enough, the restaurant with the bathroom, the restroom on the second floor, on the up 4 steps, you can get there. There is another entrance to the restaurant around the corner.
But you got to walk all around the corner.
Yeah,
But if you
so
knew, that the restroom was upstairs, if you knew beforehand, then you could enter the restaurant up there, not go in.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
So if they told you that,
If
they told you that, you could save all of that misery.
Right.
Now-
when you go into that restaurant, they should just give you notice that, the restrooms for the disability is upstairs, so you might want to sit on this part, or you might want to go around to this side, because they see you coming in with a wheelchair.
Lori, does California have laws for people with disabilities like this?
They have, I believe they do have some laws. I'm not really familiar with all the
Okay,
laws.
so that's
that they
interesting that you're not really familiar, because even I'm not familiar either, but I kind of know what the laws happen to be and not. And I haven't been in your situation or Roberta's situation, but for whatever, I notice these things. I just, for some reason, I look.
There are a lot of places that are not very friendly for wheelchairs and
Correct.
disabled.
Or parking.
And the ADA laws are national. They're not statewide. They are, the ADA laws came into existence in 1990, and they
I would
are,
imagine.
but mostly they are, I'll say, a suggestion. And so
Then it's not a law. I mean, if it's a
Well,
law, it's not a
strictly-
suggestion
in
anymore.
theory, it's a law.
It's law.
How
Right.
strictly are they
it's
monitored?
it's written. No, that's one of the problems, that it's not strictly monitored at all.
Now, this is
Right.
33 years that you're talking about, for 1990.
Right.
All right? As compared, was there ADA in 1990?
No, that
No,
was
that's
the
when it was
beginning.
Okay,
passed.
so is that when it was passed in 1990?
July of 1990.
In July. So now websites have to have ADA, right? These restaurants and such have to be ADA, right? Long Island is a different story. And the 5 boroughs, which for those of you that are not from New York, there are 5 boroughs that make up New York and Long Island. There's Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and Manhattan. And
the Bronx.
And the Bronx. And what Roberta was talking about was with the restaurant, with the 2 doors down and walk around a corner, is in Manhattan. We really don't, in Long Island, there really isn't that much of a problem for the most part, with getting into restaurants. And
Not
especially,
true.
No? Okay,
No.
show me wrong.
No, there are restaurants on Long Island. There is a relatively new restaurant. I will not tell you the name of it because I'm not here to do that. But they opened up a couple of years ago, and there were 2 steps in the front to get in. Okay, and they do have an accessible way to get in the back door, in the parking lot. But they don't tell you about it. There is no handrail at the front. Many people would be great just if a place had a handrail. I mean, you're talking about a small percentage of people that are in wheelchairs, but people with a walker or a cane, really, if they had a handrail, would do well with that. This restaurant has the 2 steps up. It has no handrail. And if you ever saw where the back entrance is, you wouldn't want to go in. I will quickly tell you the story of my father, who
Is
was
that where the kitchen is?
through the kitchen. Okay, and it looks like it's not marked. It's not anything. They only showed it to me because I asked about it. But my father, who was a very proper person, we were taking him to one of our favorite restaurants, and the accessible entrance is around the side of the building. It's a freestanding building, and so you go up this concrete entrance, and you're sort of halfway between the dining room and the kitchen through this hallway. And my father refused to go in when he got there because he felt it was degrading to have to be in that way.
Right.
Now, my husband and I didn't care. We loved the restaurant. It was fine for us. They were very nice to whatever. But my father's attitude was, I don't want to eat there. Now, there are enough places on Long Island that
yeah.
you don't have to do that. New York City is a different, sort of a
Correct.
different animal from that. But when they are sued, they take care of it. New York City theaters, more than half of the New York City theaters now on Broadway have accessible restrooms on their main floor because they were sued.
Yes.
And so it took, all of that, and they sued the big organizations to get to their 70-something, I think, official Manhattan, Broadway theaters. And the Jumanji Company and the New Nederlander Group were sued for that. And so they do now provide accessible restrooms on the main floor. It's really sad that they had to spend years in litigation to do that when they should have done the right thing. And I feel that that's a real problem, that most people don't think about, that you should do the right thing.
Yep.
They only do it when they feel pressured or feel they're in
Or
trouble.
when they have
Correct.
to.
And interesting enough that you say that, one of the things that gives the ADA law no teeth is that the bottom line of the law says that you have to do whatever you have to do, as long as it doesn't impact your bottom line.
That's ridiculous.
That is
You
part
talk
of
about
it.
theaters, Broadway theaters. Not only should they have restrooms on the first floor, they should have elevators to get to the mezzanine.
They should,
Yeah.
but
But they don't.
getting the person to the mezzanine might not be enough of an answer, because once you get the person to the mezzanine, some of the steps are very steep to the seats,
Well, yeah,
et
well,
cetera,
you got
et
to
cetera.
take that all into consideration.
So they would
right.
have to be, really a big reconstruction to do that.
See, when I do a concert, I always ask, how many accessible seats do you have for people with disabilities? And then when people question me before they buy a ticket, and they'll say, my mom, my dad is in a wheelchair, whatever. So I always ask, can they get out of a chair? Can we put you in a regular seat and have whoever is there with them have a regular seat as well? And then we take the wheelchair and we move it to the side so it gets out of the way. It's not always done like that.
No.
True.
So these are things that are problems that are not going away, I don't think, anytime soon. And so in the meantime, we feel that our job is to empower people with disabilities to make informed choices about where they want to go. Certainly on Long Island, you could find enough restaurants that you don't have to go to a
yeah.
restaurant that's not accessible.
Right. How do people get in touch with you? If they want to get a hold of you and they say, Roberta, I want to talk to you, whatever, what is your number? Tell it twice.
So they could go to our website and find our number. Our website is easy, destinationaccessible.org, www.destinationaccessible.org. They can just type in Destination Accessible at the top of a search bar. We will come up for that. And my email is, all our contact info is on the website. Easily enough to contact me, Roberta, at destinationaccessible.org, or 917-693-3420. I'll say it again, 917-693-3420. And we're happy to, to talk to anyone. I had a call the other day from a woman who asked about Moby mats at the beaches. And that's another issue. It's summer
Yeah.
in out here.
You can't move on the sand.
A great time. So some of the beaches have what are called Moby mats, mobility mats. Most of them don't go down far enough. They'll go like halfway down, and then you're stuck. And there are some of the beaches have beach wheelchairs available. So I think Robert Moses Park has like one for the whole beach.
Beach wheelchairs, bigger tires?
Big tires. Some places.
They're not motorized, though, are they?
No, they're not motorized. I'm not sure they could be. In some places, there are chairs like that are good for the water. In California, the law says that every beach has to have them available to people.
Did you ever see those, Lori?
I haven't noticed it.
Do you
No.
go to the beach?
Not as often as I'd like to.
Oh, okay.
I'm in Northern California, and it's a little different beach than in Southern
Yeah, I'm
California.
sure that it's not as, they're not the same thing.
But I have recently been to the beach. I just don't recall seeing them.
Well,
But I'm sure if they're required, they're probably around there somewhere. And
you-
hopefully there's a place where they can find out where those are located.
In
so they can
California, they're all at the lifeguard stations
Okay.
at each beach.
Yeah.
I know that from personal experience, and they're pretty readily available in California, which is not the case here. But that's that's a separate topic.
We'll talk about that next time you come. How many people are on your board?
5.
Okay. Mark,
Four.
you're on the board.
Correct.
What do you have a responsibility on the board, or does everybody just jump in and do everything?
A little bit of everything. I think I'd like to be the backup for Roberta, but I also like to go out and get sponsors and tell people about Destination Accessible, educate organizations about Destination Accessible.
Now, we met, you talk about getting people involved. We met at a networking group. That's how we met
Yes.
many years ago.
Many moons.
Okay. We're going to get to your story in just a second, but right now we're going to take a little break, all right, and pay the bills with some upcoming ads. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody. My name is Norman Wasserman, and next to me is Lisa Rodino. Lisa and I host a TV podcast show called The Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man.
So what does the Business Power Hour do? We are here to talk about you and your business. We will put you on air for 1 hour to highlight your business in front of thousands of viewers worldwide, helping you generate more leads to grow your business.
And we do this every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. right here. What are you doing?
I'm keeping you on point. My name is Lisa Rodino. I am a commercial loan advisor and broker. Have you been finding that your business's cash flow is not where you need it to be? Have you found yourself taking from your personal accounts to meet your business's obligations? Have you found that those quick solutions of quick money are starting to get awfully expensive? My job is to find the right funding products for my clients so they can get back to working in their business and give me the task of finding the best options for their situation. Give us a call today to learn more. 516-268-0350.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friend Entertainment USA. My name is Norman Wasserman. I am also known as the Music Man. Let me just tell you a little bit about Friend Entertainment. We put on concerts for charities, and we do that everywhere from New York to Las Vegas. We do R&B, Motown, rock and roll, jazz, whatever it is that you wish. Friend Entertainment will deliver the best of the best for you and your charity. Here are some of the names of the talent that have performed with us on our stage. Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, The Temptations, Earth, Wind and Fire, the one and only ELO, Elton John himself, Kool and the Gang, and the fabulous Donna Summer. Go to our website, friendentusa.com. That's www.friendentusa.com, or feel free to call us at 631-698-9696. 631-698-9696, and we'll see you at the next show. Okay, so welcome back to the Business Power Hour. I thought something else was going to pop up, but it's not there, so hopefully we'll take care of it by the end of the evening. Mark,
Yes.
you are on the mark, patient advocacy services.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken, and I could very well be mistaken, you started off with Pulse. Is that how that happened? Not with a Pulse, but with Pulse Organization. Is that right? You may have a Pulse also. But
I do have a pulse.
Hopefully.
The idea to become a patient advocate came as being a volunteer with Pulse. And take,
Explain to everybody first,
of course.
you know, the history sort of that. What is Pulse?
Pulse stands for, oh my gosh. It's a nonprofit that helps people, has 3 meetings a month. And it's patient safety, education, and
We got it. We get, okay.
we want to make sure I get that right. We have,
Eileen will call you later.
I know, patient activation and community conversation. That's one meeting. We have professionals for patient safety, and we have an ACES program.
Okay, what is an ACES program?
That's education topics that's held once a month.
About patient advocacy.
Correct.
Okay.
Various topics.
Do you have to go to school for this?
No.
Do you have to get certified for it?
What, for the court?
You know, for the Pulse already, like to represent
Well,
patients?
to be a patient, there is a board called the Patient Activation Certification Board, and I passed that exam last year.
Okay, so there is an exam.
So I am certified as a board certified patient advocate.
Okay.
And what happened was I was in a bereavement support group at the JCC in Oceanside.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was my parents had passed away in 2017. My mother from a brain tumor, which was very shocking, and my father 7 months later from a staph infection. I say it was shocking because my father was one that was sick for numerous years. He had a heart attack, and then in 1992, he had, 97 rather, he had kidney transplant, the first of 2, and my mother gave him that
God
transplant.
bless. That's
Oh,
great.
wow.
Yeah. And then 11 years later, he needed a second one, and he got it from an anonymous donor. So he's been through a lot, but when my mother got diagnosed with a tumor, it shocked all of us. My father, my sisters, myself especially, because she was there for me growing up.
She was your patient
She was my
advocate.
patient advocate because I was born with cerebral palsy and endured nearly 20 surgical operations.
How many?
20.
Oh, God
Stemming,
bless.
Wow.
right, stemming from,
You're a miracle.
yep, leg lengthenings to hip osteotomies to tendon releases. So I've been through the system. And then when I was done with the surgeries, I went to graduate school for healthcare administration.
And you have a master's?
Master's in healthcare administration, bachelor's in business
I'm
administration.
lucky I could get out of public school.
With a focus on the ADA. I focused my undergraduate work in human resources accommodations in
God
the
bless
workplace.
you. Look at you.
So, and thank goodness Eileen, this was right before COVID, she spoke at the JCC. She had a community patient activation. We had a conversation. She now has it online on the first Wednesday of each month. It's at 7 o'clock. And it was wonderful.
And yet it's national now, right?
Now it's national, yes.
Because I remember when she first got to, but I'm not, actually, Eileen's going to be on in another month or so I don't want to steal all the thunder, but she started this because there was a problem with her son 25 some odd years ago.
Yes.
But she'll tell that. But, you know, she saw the light. She didn't want to take it anymore.
No.
You know, like you, but in another area. And she wanted to do something about it, and that's what it is that she did. So
I can't speak for everyone, but something happens in someone's life that makes you want to focus on certain areas. And for me,
Well, that's why I do
it was
music.
patient advocacy.
Because something happened with me in my life, you know, from when I was 10 years old, you know, and you know, just music means so much to me, you know.
Mark, you're an example to me of what I teach, and that is the obstacle is the way. You know, I
Yes.
look back on all the trials in my life and how those have been the pivotal moments that shifted me to be where I am and who I am today. And that's exactly what you've done. You've taken what was so difficult in your life and you've made it a gift where you can bless others. And I love that.
Thank you. It's a lot of obstacles to overcome, especially starting a business when you've been working for insurance carriers and healthcare organizations for 20 years.
So you got
It's
your
a
own
challenge.
business. We're going to get to that in a second. We're going to go chronologically with you. Okay,
Good.
so you've had all these operations, whatever. You went to school at the same time, I guess, as having some of these operations. You got your master's degree. You're hooked up with Pulse, with Eileen. She taught you X, Y, and Z, yada, yada. And then after a couple of years with Eileen, where were you at that point?
Actually, it was right away. I took her course in 2019, and then I started taking courses in patient safety and advocacy. But then the COVID hit, so we were all stuck.
We all stopped.
Right. So then Eileen had started a Take Charge campaign, and I became an ambassador for that. And I
What
took
is the Take Charge campaign?
Take Charge campaigns is a 5-month program. It's all year round.
So that's what 5 steps mean.
5 steps
Okay.
to safer healthcare. We're in step 4 this month, which is preventing infections. But it's various aspects of taking charge and of your own healthcare and remembering how to prepare to be a better patient.
Let's talk, because Eileen always talks about this, and you must be talking about it too, is that little piece of paper that you have to have with you, or you should have with you when you go to the hospital, which really isn't a little piece of paper. It's 8.5 by 11, unless you do what I did with it, which I always brag to her. When she brings it up, I whip it out. I have it, actually, right now, I have it in my back pocket. It's my, well, you explain. Go ahead. You know where I'm going.
The healthcare proxy.
Of course.
That's the first step, actually. Healthcare proxy, which is to tell people who you want to speak with if you can't speak for yourself.
Time out 1 second. Listen to me, folks. You're going to go to the hospital one day, and you're not going to know when that's going to happen. Your parents are going to go to the hospital. Your friends, relatives are going to go to the hospital. This healthcare proxy is huge. And what I did is I took it, I shrunk it, I went to Staples, I put it in plastic, and I have it in my wallet. So God forbid I have to go to the hospital and they need to ask questions and I need to have somebody there or speak for me. I have this with me. Think about it. I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
Actually, and Eileen pointed out, it's not just for older individuals.
No, it's for anybody.
Right. You could have a college-bound senior.
Of course.
College-aged high school senior going to college, and let's say something happens.
And you're not there because
Right.
they're out of state.
Correct.
Right. They have to have
Have
that.
that,
Now,
correct.
parents don't think about
Right.
that. Believe me, my kids with my grandchildren, and one of them's in college, the others, they drive. You drive a car, you should have
Yes.
that piece of paper.
Absolutely.
As soon
Just
as you
like I
turn
have a
18.
handicapped
Yeah,
permit.
well, yeah, but there are more reasons to have it. If you don't drive, it's something a different story. Then you're with an adult. More times than none, they're driving you. They're doing well. But
No,
yes,
but I'm saying you should
at
have it
18.
as soon as you're 18.
Yep. Okay.
Yes. The key is with 5 steps is to be better prepared, not only with the healthcare proxy, but with making a list of questions for the doctor's appointments, having your list of your medical history and medications. Here in New York, you might go see a doctor at Mount Sinai, but you might go see a specialist at Northwell. Mm-hmm. You want to have that information, whether it's
My
hard,
back
hard
pocket.
copy or
She taught me
on
well.
a-
You taught me well. It works. I went to the doctor. I went to a new doctor, to an eye doctor or something. They ask you all those questions. I whip out my card. I copy all the information. I don't have to ask my wife. What operation did I have? And but that's what guys are like. You need the little support next to you.
And very important is preventing infections, washing your hands, asking
Mm-hmm.
caregivers to wash their hands.
I told Eileen this story. My wife was in the hospital. Oh, this is about a year or so ago. We went into the emergency room, and it was packed. Very famous hospital, but they're all packed. Eileen, Lori, listen to this. So she's sitting on the stretcher, and I'm sitting there next to her, and she's right by a room, right? Doctor walks in, fine, didn't take any soap or cleanser, came out, didn't take any cleanser. I said to my wife, now my wife is like eagle eye. She said, he didn't take. He comes back, he walks in again, doesn't put any soap on his hands, comes back out. I said, excuse me. He goes, yes, can I help you? I said, yeah. You want to wash your hands? You want to clean your hands? You want to put some stuff on you? He says, oh, no, you didn't. So just go and do it, or I'm going to, So, and he was there. This is doctor. He should know it's automatic.
Doesn't always happen.
No.
Happened to me at a Mount Sinai clinic. That's why I switched.
All right, so you've been there then for a while, and something made you want to start your business, or you work for somebody else and you wanted to do something. Tell us about your business.
Well, what happened was I was working, well, that's still I'm doing, as a compliance consultant.
Doing what? What kind of compliance?
For a mental health clinic, reviewing records. And then my parents got sick in 2017.
Right, you said.
So after they passed, after about a year, and being in a support group at the JCC of Oceanside, wonderful support group, I was looking for something to get involved in, something to do that's meaningful, because I missed my mother, especially my mother, very much. But both parents I missed because they looked out for me, and which they should, you know, special needs person, as the youngest. And I found, you know, when the social worker at the JCC told me about Eileen Karina's talk that was coming up, I said, wow, I'll try it. And then that discussion, there were things in that I could feel like I could do as a patient advocate. And I started during COVID, took courses, studied, worked on it, perfected my craft, and then I've been taking care of certain clients, helping them with various issues, helping them get medication approved, helping them find a nursing home.
So you got an insurance background too?
Yes, I worked for several Medicaid, Medicare HMOs.
So you're cheating. You're not telling us everything that you do. Okay, so what makes you such a good patient advocate? Tell us.
Well, I've been through the system. With my,
You've been through the system, all right.
Growing up with cerebral palsy.
Right.
And during, you know, this...
Did your parents, were they able to do the same kind of things that you do now for other people?
No. My mother was special. She did it for me. She was one of a kind. She did.
Well, she was your
mom.
mom.
Plus, she did for my. She did for my sisters also. But she did for my father. She was very generous, giving him a kidney. But I'm doing it to honor their memory. The way she took care of me, I want to help others, and not everyone has the family around.
No, and more times than none, they don't.
Right.
Okay, so now Joe Schmo goes into the hospital. Cute. That's an old term, right?
I
People
know.
won't know. Okay. So, and they tell them, you're going to be in this room, whatever. And now the doctor walks in and says, what's the matter? And I don't know, but I got this pain over there. So how does this person now get in touch with you? They don't know you. How do they reach you? They have to get a hold of you and find out about you before they go into the hospital.
Correct. Now they have to check out my website, which is onthemark.advocate.com.
Do it again.
On the Mark.
MARC.
Advocate.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, MSB Advocate 21. That's MSB Advocate 21. And my direct number is 516-749-6135. And it's 749-6135. And my email is marc, at onthemarkadvocate.com.
All right, and they can call you. They can have
Correct.
a conversation with you. I guess you have a fee that's involved.
Not for the first initial consultation.
No, I
don't
get
charge
that. But if they're going to use
Definitely
services going forward,
whether it's,
do you take insurance for the fee?
No.
There's no insurance.
No insurance, not
Okay.
covered by insurance.
Do you help, Roberta, do you help Mark with his business as he helps you with yours? Is there any relationship there, segue, anything, synergy?
Well, our relationship is that all of his information is on our website and in our newsletters. And so
As you have theirs.
And anybody can find out about them as one of our trusted resources. And certainly when we go any place to events or whatever, our information is there. His information is there.
Okay, good.
I think it works reciprocally, if that's a word.
Now, in all the illnesses that you had, and the operations you've had, and the achievements you've had, and the helping of people that you've had, you have had to have had one or two interesting stories along the way. Can you relate something to us? Give us some examples.
One or two. One, relating to cerebral palsy, I was in graduate school. Went to see my friend in Baltimore. I was attending George Washington, and we were just
George Washington,
Yeah.
school?
We were having a catch, and he said, "Why don't you try throwing it with your right hand?" Because I'm a lefty,
Right.
and usually my glove is on the right hand. But it took a while, and I was trying to throw it. But after about an hour or two, I was throwing a ball with my right hand. I never did it. And then a couple months later, I spoke to Jim Abbott, who
Right.
Several months earlier, I'd pitched.
For those of you who don't know who Jim Abbott was, he only had one arm, and he was a pitcher he was a pitcher in Major League Baseball, a grade A top #1 pitcher,
and he pitched
on the Yankees,
He pitched a no-hitter for the Yankees.
and pitched a no-hitter for the Yankees
about a year
with one
earlier,
hand.
a year earlier. So I had written to him, and he wrote back, and I'd spoken to him a few months later. That was very momentous. That's one. Client, I would say,
So
helping.
tell us the rest of the story. Was that the whole story?
Yeah, I got to
Okay, I
speak
thought
with
maybe
him.
the Yankees called you too,
No.
and they wanted you to come for a tryout. Oh, that didn't work. You have any other stories you can tell? Don't you have a personal training story or something?
Very much so. Since
Oh,
COVID,
God.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's why you write notes.
I would say since 2020, June of 2020, I started working out with a personal trainer in my area, and she was very good with working with me and improving my range of motions and things I could do in the gym. I never thought I could bench press 40 pounds, and with my left hand. The right hand I could do. I'm almost up to 20 pounds.
You did one hand, 40 pounds?
Yeah, with my left hand.
You're a
Left hand.
beast.
Yeah. TRX machines. I would never thought I'd be able to do rows like that. It's impressing myself what I could do when you set your mind to it. To really overcome any obstacle.
Okay, we're gonna rehash some of your information and come back to you in just a second. Background and past work experiences. Let us have it. How can you, in other words, let's go back to how can you assist families when you're alone?
But I could be there for the family member when the
Family can't be there.
family can't be there. They're busy for whatever reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I could check in with them, whether it's once a week or once a month, take them to their appointments, make sure that they are safe at home. I'll offer helping them with a
You're
medical
like
alert.
a big time aid, nursing
I'm
aid.
a resource. Not an
Yeah.
aid, I'm a resource.
Yeah, okay.
I could get a nursing aid or a home health aid if they need.
But that's part of your resourcing.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's being there for them when you don't think about it. When people don't think, they don't know what to do, they don't have time. And for that moment. I could be there in the hospital for them, give them respite.
And when people don't know what to do.
And when people don't know what. My biggest thing is, when I got that call, my mother called me and told me she had a brain tumor. You're in shock. And you really need an advocate by your side to be your rock.
You need somebody by your side.
Right. Fortunately, she had my father, my sisters, and I, and a great medical team to do what they could do.
Oh, God bless. That's good. What are people going to find when they go to your website? I want to go to the movies. So I'm going to say I'd like to go to the movies. Which is the best movie theater for me to go to? I live in Nassau County.
Well, when you go to our website, you can plug in, if you know where you want to go, you can plug in the name, you can go to the search bar, plug in the name of the venue, and if we have visited it personally, it will be there. If we haven't visited it, it won't be there. You can look by category on our homepage. There are categories: dining, kid-friendly, theaters, parks. What else do we have? Museums.
You're like Yelp.
Yes, but we
Little
are.
more.
But we
So what
are.
makes you different?
More
you know,
in depth. More in
because-
depth.
Dude, I don't know if everyone in the country knows what Yelp is, but it's a service here in New York do you have it there, Laurie?
Yep.
You have it. Okay, so
Because-
it's national.
Because Yelp is crowdsourced. Nobody is checking on what you write on Yelp.
Right.
On what you say. You can write anything,
Anything
you
you want.
want. And so
Right.
nobody is fact checking you. And so that is.
Well, they don't fact check politicians, so why should they fact
Well,
check
this is a
anything?
different-
Oh, that's a different. So we're not going there.
I'm not going there.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no. That's a different show, Norman.
That's gonna take a couple of hours. That show,
Well,
or
all right.
if not weeks.
So they can find the venue. They can look by geographic area. Look in Nassau, Suffolk. Then specifically, they can look. We also have the vast majority of our venues are on Long Island because this is what's easy for us to get to.
Yeah.
We also have the New York metro area. We have a mini section on San Francisco where my granddaughter lived for 8 years, and a mini section on Vermont where we go a lot. So places that we have been are on the website. If it is not on there, we also have interesting articles on the website.
You do
We have-
blog writing?
We have Well, our blog is pretty much, our blog writing is within each page. So that for each venue, there is what's called our Read More, which is really our blog for our personal experience.
Each page has a. How many
Each-
pages do you have?
About 650.
Oh boy.
So if you go to,
Like a
you search for, museums on Long Island. You go to Nassau or Suffolk, and they'll come up, and then you choose what you want, and then that page will come up, and on that page you will find a quick description, and then you will find a checklist, which is what we use to review places when we go there.
So you
And
ask
then-
people to check off. Can Joe Schmo again? Can he come and after he goes finish with dinner and put a review?
Joe Schmo can do that if he is willing to follow our guidelines and take photos and write about it and give his name and information to us. It doesn't
All right,
have
so
to be to the
that-
public,
Right,
but
but you
we
gotta-
have to
you
vet
gotta
it.
have it.
Right. So you can find all of that. We also have interesting articles and references or resources. We have a resource page. We have a sponsor page. Our sponsors are on the website. We have a lot of good articles, things such as, for many people who might not know, the TSA offers a program for people with disabilities and how they can get help when they're traveling, when they're flying. There are programs called, New York State has the Empire Pass, which tells you about how to get into places for little or no money. So we have a lot of interesting information. We also have one of our, I'll call it our best sellers that's asked for from our website, is our tip sheet. What do you do when you go online and you can't find the information you need and you want to call a venue? What should you ask? How should you ask it?
Okay.
And so we have a very specific one-page called Tips for when you can't get the information you want online. Specific questions that you should ask to get the information that you need. That has been requested many, many times from us. And it's very helpful. It's very useful. Things to make sure that the person who's answering the phone, if they hesitate for 1 second, you have to say to them, "Have you personally seen what you're telling me?" They hesitate, you ask them to call back. Response rate, I would say, is like 99%. If I have asked someone to please get the information and call back, they almost always do. So people are very good about it because the people that are answering the phone, they don't want to be mean, they just don't know. And
Yeah.
so, if you are going to a hotel, we don't deal with hotels, but you have to be so specific because accessibility rooms in hotels mean different things to, I don't know, as many people as there are asking about them. So some hotels, an accessible room means there's a grab bar in the bathtub. If you need a roll-in shower, you have to know to ask for that.
Right.
So your requests have to be very specific. Requests at theaters, you have to know what you're asking for. And our big tip is that you should start as soon as possible when you know you're going someplace, because sometimes people need time to get back to you and give you the information.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So in other
there's-
words, I give it a couple of days or so for somebody to give you
yeah,
the
if you
information.
if you know that you're going to go to the UBS Arena in 2 months, and you need a specific kind of a seat, you should call them now.
Well, here's a I think a good question for you, because I was at Madison Square Garden about a year ago, and there's so much construction going on at the Garden. I don't know if either one of you have seen it, but it's insane. And when you have a Billy Joel show or a big name like that, it's 100-fold. All right, it's terrible. What does somebody do that's in a wheelchair? All right, there's not even a passageway that you can go to. I mean, who do you call and ask that question?
Well, supposedly, every venue, theaters and things like that, have something that is called, I'm not sure if it's called, an accessible, it's not an accessible entrance, and it's like an accessible staging area, where if there is a fire or something, the people who are working there are supposed to know who needs that
Okay, so
help
you
and
come
get them
you
to
come
that
in on
spot.
7th Avenue, you're on 33rd Street, you're in a wheelchair or you're in a walker, and you get to the security guard who says, I don't know. Well, you go walk around the corner and it's a half a block. Hey, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
You know, there's
You're-
got to be some recourse to that.
You-
So that's going to be for our next conversation because I'm asking you to find out how do you beat that? How do you do that in the Coliseum?
Education.
In Brooklyn. How do you find these things out?
The best you can do is to ask and ask over and over again. New places have a lot of information available. New venues have done a particularly good job in terms of accessibility and what they have to offer, and hopefully their staff is trained well enough. But you can't beat it. You have to be proactive. You have to
Absolutely.
be.
You have to take
You
your
have to
rights
know
and
what you're
responsibility.
doing. When you go someplace, as the Suffolk County officer who gave a lecture to us at an organization and was saying, anybody, not just if you're disabled, when you go into a venue, you better look around and see where those exits are. You better look around and see what's the fastest way for you to get out. You better look around and see, if I can't get out, what can I do to save myself?
Here's just a little story. It'll make everybody laugh, all right? And we're getting to the end of the hour, so we want to have a little laugh. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, my mom takes me to Madison Square Garden, the old one, and I go to see the circus. All right, so I'm there with my mom, and of course, I'm 5, 6 years old. I got to go to the bathroom. So mom takes me downstairs to the men's room, and the men's room has 6 or 7 exits and entrances, because that was the old garden. So I go in one, and I go out another, and now I can't find my mom. All right, so here I am. That's it. So I just walked over to a policeman. I said, I'm lost, So he goes and he buys me a bag of popcorn. He takes me to the entrance where all the entertainers, all the circus people are walking in and walking out, and he gives me a seat. And I'm sitting there with this little 5-year-old watching Emmett Kelly, the king of clowns. Or to those of you who don't know, the king of clowns, world famous. Even his son played on his name and became Emmett Kelly Jr., if you remember. And they make an announcement in Madison Square Garden. Will Mrs. Wasserman please come to pick up your son? I just thought that was good. You just happened to hit it. But that's an issue.
But you also knew well enough to go and ask.
I was hungry, I guess. I have no idea.
But some kids don't know to ask. Some
Right.
people,
Exactly.
Well,
Here's my last question for the night. How does somebody get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me by emailing mark@onthemarkadvocate.com or by visiting my website, onthemarkadvocate.com with a C, or on social media at MSBadvocate21.
Thank you. Roberta?
I think the easiest way to get in touch with us is to go to our website, and all the information to contact us is there. Destination Accessible, in any way, shape, form. Roberta at Destination Accessible, www.destinationaccessible.org, or 917-693-3420. We're happy to hear from anybody.
Laura, you have any last minute questions you'd like to ask?
I just have a couple of comments. Number one, Roberta, I'm just amazed at the wealth of, the volume of information that you have to share
Thank you.
on your site and what you've been explaining. And I just think it's beautiful. People have to learn to take control of their life, take charge of their life, just like we have to do with health, right? We have to take control of our own health. We can't leave it to someone else. So I think that's so important that people start to step in and ask the questions, that they start to take that responsibility of getting the information for themselves. And Mark, I'm impressed. I'm inspired by you. I think, it's so beautiful. And I know so many people who have different disabilities who have become inspirational leaders, motivational speakers, and it's just beautiful that you have stepped up and really used the struggle, the thing that you've gone through in your life, to bless others and to make such a powerful difference. And it's really inspiring.
Yeah, it's
Thank
terrific.
you.
And I applaud the
Grateful
both of you for what it is that you do. Lori and I belong to this networking group, and we have a gentleman in the group that is totally blind. He comes to this networking group quite often because we have different chapters throughout the United States. He has 2 businesses. One business, he's a coffee roaster. It's called the Blind Coffee Roaster. And I buy coffee from her, and the coffee is crazy good. If you like, I'm a coffee drinker, so the coffee is really, really. Lori knows exactly whom and what I'm talking about. And he has a cleaning business. I think it's a dry cleaning business.
Yeah.
And that one he's looking to sell right now, and he wants to devote his time going forward to the coffee business and to fundraising. I coincidentally am doing a concert for him and his charity in Pennsylvania. But what an amazing man, just like the two of you. You know, you're fascinating. You always were. I always loved you, and I admire to the ends of the earth.
Appreciate that.
I don't know if I would have had the strength, seriously, to go through everything that you have gone through in your life. You're just a remarkable human being, and I bless you, and that's really good
I
stuff.
appreciate that. If you are struggling, it's always important to take the time and find the path. I think that's what I did with advocacy.
Yeah, but you went beyond that.
I'm still improving.
Yeah, well, God bless you. You should never stop.
And
on that
also-
note, we're going to say goodnight for this evening. I've been getting, happily, inundated with phone calls about people that want to be on the Business Power Hour. So if you take a look on your screen right now, we're streaming on 7 stations. It used to be 2. Then it went to 3. And then
Wow.
we got contacted, and now it's 7. So if you want to advertise your business across the country, we're just under 10,000 viewers and followers. Give me a call. Call the Music Man at 631-698-9696. That's 631-698-9696. And let's see if we can work something out and get your organization and or business promoted with some great leads. And on that note, Lori, I thank you very, very much.
So welcome.
Love you.
I'm so grateful.
All right, we'll see you
Anytime.
tomorrow. And by the
Anytime.
way, I have some news from you regarding your flyer, which I'll send to you later when I get home. The two of you, God bless you both. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for
And-
having
Thank you
us.
for
And get
having
home
us.
safely. All right, good night,
Appreciate it.
everybody.
Take care. Good night.
Good night.
The Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man is sponsored by Media Stations. Create your own media and have your own station. To get started with your own content, call or text 516-448-2066. That's Media Stations in Bohemia, New York.